All right, we are back. Sorry for the technical issues, but we were rolling here. We were talking about 5A Region 3 players that you like to make a run. And, Michael had just wrapped up talking about BJ Gill, and I just running with Chase Richardson here. Same district. Dude is a baller. I watched a rivalry game in which he was getting the overrated chant. And my guy couldn't hit the broadside of the barn in the first two quarters, 2.5 quarters. But when the lights turned brightest and they needed buckets, Chase put on in the fourth quarter and overtime, really made plays, made his teammates better, and found a way to get it done. So, um, when you have guys like that when they need something to happen and they have a player that you can just look to, and Friendswood has a lot of good players, but Chase is just a difference maker, and he's a guy that I could see making a run. That we talk about those sophomores making a run, like the little ignorance is bliss. Like they don't know, they don't know. Like they're playing with house money here. So Chase is a very dangerous matchup, and Friendswood is a really good team that's really well coached. Let's hop into a dark horse team. That Barbers Hill Beaumont United district is pretty crazy. So there's some dark horses there. Lyndon, I'm going to pass it to you to start.
Yeah, the team that Chase and Friendswood will actually be playing in the first round is Barbers Hill. And one of the things that I believe in deep in my soul as a coach and a player and everything is that length and rebounding goes a long way in the playoffs. A lot of times not giving up extra possessions is huge. And I came from a program where sometimes our best offense was throw the ball at the rim, go get it, and go get score, put back.
Dump and
It's one
chase,
of those.
baby.
Yeah, exactly. It's Dallas Stars basketball.
I love it.
But they've got really long front line. Aiden Williams is a senior who's been there and been in these situations. Wesley Wake is coming to his own. This is a team who, remember, Timmons, you were there. They lost to Allen by 2 back at the McDonald's tournament. They had a lead
Yeah,
on them
and,
late in the year.
and yeah, they're going to be kicking themselves. They know they should have won that game for sure.
Yeah. Yeah. So, I mean, this is a team that has shown they can do it against the very best in the state, and that makes them a dark horse in my book.
How do you not look at Beaumont United here? Ashton Green, Ephraim Moore, Malachi Anderson. They have the pieces. They have a coach. And isn't it just a Beaumont tradition to make a run, right? Like, I know I haven't been around that long, but that's really all I've seen from Beaumont United. So it's hard to just count them out. And they've been in both games against Westbrook. And if they get them for a third time, like, who knows what can happen. So I think they just make up for a perfect dark horse team. Lyndon, who else?
Yeah, and from that same Barbers Hill district, Port Arthur Memorial, they've got dudes who are battle tested with Kendall Hillstock, Amir Young, and they're the team that gave Beaumont Westbrook their only district loss. I mean, that speaks for itself with how successful Westbrook has been this year. I think that if they can navigate that first round win or that first round game against Iowa Colony, that the bracket can open up for them and they can go on a deep run.
Yep. Michael, who is a really fun first round matchup in 5A Region 3? I loved this answer because I watched them recently.
Yeah, how about Pflugerville Weiss and Bastrop Cedar Creek in the Division 1 on Region 3 and 5A? Makai Bryant, Kenji Franklin. I mean, two just go get it athletes, seniors that, I mean, just it's going to be a fun collision course between those two. They both offensively are very gifted, athletically gifted, and they both compete. So they're both going to set the tone for a very fun and under game in that region.
All right, let's jump into the region winners. Make your case for Beaumont Westbrook, Lyndon.
Yeah, they've got one of the most talented players in the region with Elijah Garrett. They've got a guy who's been there, who's made shots in big games before, and Terry Satcher. They've got all kinds of guards and bigs who can make waves on the same roster. And I just think that continuity, the success they've had, and a lot of times when it gets down to a single possession game, having the best player on the floor matters a lot. And Elijah Garrett is going to be tough to do better than him in this region.
Yeah, I'll make the case here for Fort Bend Marshall, and it starts with the in-low. He's one of the best floor generals around. He just guards. Like some of these guys are so offensive minded, and I don't know if it's Ian's size, but he plays with this chip on his shoulder. He guards, and don't cross the dude because he's going to guard and he's going to make you work for everything. They have a great interior presence with Kevin Sargent and Jaden Jones. Their two losses are to San Antonio Brennan and Katie Jordan, which obviously we know two real contenders. They've seen it all. They've done it all. They have all the ingredients. They make a lot of sense for why they could win D2.
And when you're talking about Ian, like when we talk about like some advice going into playoffs, a lot of them are starting tonight. Tone setters. It doesn't matter if you're the 20-point bucket getter on your team or you're a role player. Picking up 94 feet and getting your bench and your crowd into it to let you know, hey, we're here starting is like a huge deal because momentum from the tip matters so much in these games, especially these high-level matchups where we're like so excited for the games. Who's going to take charge and like make something happen early? It doesn't mean go put the ball in the basket right away. It's just setting the tone to say, hey, we're the aggressor. We're ready for this moment more than you. And then everything else will start to take care of itself. But if you can be a tone setter guarding, a lot of times that really just frees everybody up to be like, okay, we're here. It's the playoffs. Let's go hoop.
Yeah, I agree with that. That's a great call out, Mike. 5A Region 4.
Also, by the way, I wasn't a shooter in high school or college, so I'm coming from a perspective of guarding is the only reason why I played college basketball. So yeah, it's not like maybe if I was over there getting buckets, I would have said something different, but I do think guarding matters.
No, 100%. Especially Lyndon alluded to it earlier. When everybody's a little tight, that first couple shots, like this, it's a great time to set the tone, and I think that was a great call out. Let's move on to 5A Region 4. Who is a player that you like in this region to lead and make a run? Michael.
Well, look at South San. On paper, they're not going to be one of the favorites, most likely. But when you have a guy in Ethan Moreno that just gave a district opponent 51 points and 13 rebounds, hey, you got to figure out a way to stop him. I think he had 30-something a game recently as well. Like, he's going to be a nightmare. Obviously, South San's running some stuff. He's just a load inside. And, I mean, like I said, 51 points. And I mean, even if this is just a shout out to a senior down at South San that just put up 51 and 13 in the district play when we're talking about 5A basketball. I mean, you got to account for Ethan Moreno. And if he gives somebody in the first round of playoffs 51 points, South San might advance off that. So, yeah. But yeah, Ethan Moreno, 51.13, he's capable of that. So that's a guy that you have to account for.
Yeah, and accounting for guys really matters in the playoffs. So I'm going to go with Zion Rodriguez, Weslaco East. He played for the McAllen Ballers, 2,000-point scorer, leading his team to 21 straight wins. Like, why not? Having a microwave scorer in a do-or-die game, like, I want that guy on my team. And, when you have that type of talent, you can just get rolling. And it's fun to see. So Zion Rodriguez, a really good player, had a really successful summer this year, and I believe still unsigned. Lyndon?
Yeah, I'll hop in with Jordan Bustamante from Edinburgh Vela. Vela is one of the most, historic programs in terms of their success in Region 4, 5A. Made it to state about 8 or 9 years ago. Shout out Ryan Garza, who led that team in his junior season. And, for Jordan Bustamante, he's going to have his shot. They're slated to draw Corpus Christi Veterans Memorial, who will enter as the favorite in this region in the second round. So he's going to get his shot to lead Edinburgh back to the Alamo Dome.
Love it. Who's a dark horse team in this region? Michael?
Am I up?
Yeah, you're
Sorry.
up.
Oh, yeah. Sorry, my bad. I was looking at something else. San Antonio Vets Memorial, one of those teams that doesn't need GPS to figure out how to get to the Alamo Dome. Coach Steve Perez is going to scout you up. He's going to take away what you do best. And if he needs to take the air out of the ball, he has no problem doing that. They're going to get the most out of every possession. And one of their best offensive players in DJ Jordan they're posting stats that he's breaking school records, taking charges. So that just kind of tells you what the culture is down there. And so for a team in Vets Memorial, where Wagner has been the cream of the crop in that district this year, and it's probably one of the favorites in this region, don't sleep on a team that's been there, done that, and knows how to get to the Alamo Dome and knows what it takes to navigate this bracket.
Man, I love that. Leander, Lyndon, I'm going to let you speak on them, but it's kind of funny. all of our dark horses have something in common. Like they play stylistically a little bit different. They're willing to do some things some teams are not able to do. So that's that kind of makes them right a dark horse in and of themselves. So tell us about Leander.
Yeah, and it all starts with Ryder Bradley. I mean, I've seen him in the summer and the fall tour and all over the place. Be one of those guys who you can just trust him to make big plays, whether that's on the defensive end, flying around, creating turnovers, finding open shooters off the drive, or making tough shots when his team needs it. I think that can go a very long way in a playoff, especially in 5A, Region 4, big school bracket that, they can make some noise. And I think with his guard play, that's going to allow them to have a really good shot at whoever they match up with in the later rounds.
Speaking of first round matchups, who is a intriguing first round matchup in 5A Region 4 that you're liking, Lyndon?
Yeah, Alamo Heights, with their, they've competed in a really tough district with Wagner and Bernie Champion and Vets and Piper and all those guys. And so I really have to pick them and Rouse with, you got Alex Elliott for Alamo Heights. You got DeAndre Gardner for Rouse. There's going to be a lot of talent on the court in this one, and I think it's going to be a really interesting clash of styles to see who comes out on top. And I'll have my eyes on this one as it goes on.
Love it. Let's make the case for Michael. You mentioned San Antonio Wagner earlier. Make your case for them winning this region.
It just feels like this is the year where they're just all very comfortable in their roles on that roster. You have the seniors that are starting to step up, and that's Marcus Johnson, that down the stretch, multiple 30 balls. But you have Damon Ramirez running the point guard position. Trey Clark just continues to just do what it takes to, whether that's rebounding inside, when it's time for him to be the scorer for them. Defensively, he can guard 1 through 5. Tyler Johnson's a sophomore down there that's getting better and better every single day. They're just, Jordan Thomas is one of those guys. If we were talking about a guy to lead the team and go get it, they're just the players on that roster right now are all down the stretch in district doing what they're supposed to do on a consistent basis. And I think that's been the biggest thing for Wagner as they make these playoff runs is the consistency. And I think they're all putting it together. They all trust each other. I think they're all going to war for each other. And that's a very, very scary recipe for a team that's, playing really, really good basketball right now.
Yeah. I get the low-hanging fruit here in D1. Corpus Christi Veterans Memorial. It's just like there's been so much said about this team. Now it's time to go do it. Just to remind you of their resume. Billy White, Sean Mondragon, 35-0. Two of the best 2026s in the state. They have the confidence. Now it's just time to go prove it. And, they've proven it all year, but the second season, we all know this is when it's time and it's their time to go make a play and show the state just how good they are. It's really nice having a 6'9" shooting rim protector who plays on the perimeter and can beat you off the bounce. He can just do everything. He's Mr. Unicorn over there in Billy White. So I just am really excited for the state to know how good this team really, really is. And then, Michael, why don't you wrap up 5A with another make the case for San Antonio J. They've loomed from anywhere from 8 to 10 to 12 around that ranking all year, and they score with the best of them, and they have a lot of confidence right now.
Yeah, for Jay, I think I've heard more about why Jay can't get it done. And people will say, well, it's the size. And I think Jay goes into every game being like, our skill set for putting the ball in the basket is better than your skill set for being bigger than us. Yeah. And they go into every single game being able to do that. Led by Jarius Jackson, who's actually been hurt for a few games. But what's great about this Jay team is that the first name I'm going to mention is Eric Robles, who's going to be maybe their 6th or 7th guy in the rotation, but can score just as well and has just as much confidence. Cameron Garza has almost feasted off wanting to get triple doubles for this team, doing whatever it takes. Jaden Guillen, one of my favorite guys. I can't stop talking about the kid, the way he puts the ball in the basket. And when you want to talk about size, Elijah Hubbard and Zachariah Linton are two guys that probably aren't interior players. They're wings, but they've continued to match the physicality of where they need to play. And I think it sparked from when they played and lost that game to Dallas Parish Episcopal. and really got hit in the mouth for the first time all season, that they said, okay, there's a level of toughness that we have to match. And since then, they've been on a roll. But yeah, when you talk about putting the ball in the basket, there's multiple guys on this team that can give you 30. And it's just hard to stop one guy. And you feel like one of these guys every given night's going to go get it for you. And they've been doing that.
Great analysis there. 6A, we're here, baby. Region 1. Let's talk about players in the region to lead and make a run. I'm going to go off the beaten path here, talk about South Lake Carroll. I saw Ari Tuma go toe-to-toe with Austin Gooseby, ultimately come up short in a 64-63 loss, but he put up 29 points, was phenomenal in the game. Has an incredible crossover step. Very, very crafty player. And then you got Brody Knowles playing well. They're in Division II of 6A, and they're on a 9-game winning streak. South Lake Carroll is rolling right now. I would not want to play them, and they have just a team that, again, has not really been mentioned, so they could have fallen in the dark horse there. But I wanted to give a shout-out specifically to Ari Tuma and what he's done and accomplished this season. Let's move into dark horse teams. Who is a dark horse team in 6A Region 1 that you feel like could make a real run?
Yeah. And it's tough to pick in the small school bracket, especially because there's so many names out there of teams that can compete and teams that are truly dark horses. Little Elm is right there with these guys, but I'm going to pick Wolforth Friendship just because of Patton Pinkins. I mean, we've got to talk about this guy. He's had an incredible senior season coming back from all kinds of injuries. He put up a 40 ball, followed by a 49 ball in the first weekend of the season where I saw him. I just think with them getting their football guys are back, obviously from months back, but from when I see them, it was just their straight basketball crew. But, this team has had all the time to gel. Their experience. Chase Campbell's a dude who needs to be on radars as a dual sport athlete. But I think that their toughness and Patton's ability to just go out and put on in some of the biggest stages and just get things done as a scorer makes them one of the dark horses that a lot of teams are going to have to pay attention to.
Yeah, and they play that up tempo. They're going to press you. They want a lot of possession, so that's a fun one.
Mm-hmm.
Let's talk about an intriguing first-round matchup. Flower Mound Marcus versus Plano East. Are you kidding me? These are two teams that are going to finish in our top 15 rankings, in which we will drop pretty close after this show.
Yeah.
And it's a shame that they have to play in Division 1 6A because these are two teams that we would consider dark horses. And, Michael made the point earlier, like Plano East is still the champion, right? And they still have DJ Hall leading them. And until they're out, we're not going to have a new 6A champion. So then you got on the other side, Janan Ramnanan, who could have been in the player you like to lead and make a run. Then you got Luke Susko. It's just going to be a great matchup.
Mm-hmm.
Flower Mound Marcus versus Plano East. I would tune into that. I probably will tune into that, depending on making schedules happen. I guess I could, right?
Yeah.
Let's talk region winners. Make the case for Mansfield Lake Ridge. Is it just like too quiet of how unbelievable their season has been?
I just feel like when you talk about perennial, like the basketball in Texas, the history, Mansfield's a newer community. So I just feel like you have to be more undeniable when you're a Mansfield school to really be taken seriously that's a state favorite. So all they've done all year has just been undeniable. And what I love about this team is they have the perfect blend of senior leadership. And we talked off camera, some of these younger players, they just don't know any better. And sometimes when you go into playoffs and not know what you don't know, and you're talented enough to figure it out, like Roman Dool and Kalamati, two guys right there that just know how to go hoop and get it done, playing within an offense that's led by seniors like Shakir Pack to keep them kind of in line. This team just has the makeup to just go to the Alamo Dome and nobody would be shocked, especially us three talking off camera. And losses to Allen and Lancaster are two losses that you're frustrated because you can play with those guys, but those aren't bad losses by any means. So they know they can play with anybody. They know they can beat anybody. So, Mansfield Lake Ridge in the D1 6A, Region 1, I mean, hey, look out.
I guess I just get all the low-hanging fruit here, but Alan, I'm going to make their case real quick. And you should, if you haven't been living under a rock, you should know their case. They're the most balanced team in the state. They play fast. They push the possession count up. They're going to pressure you. They're going to make life miserable on you. They have two really awesome guards, two or three awesome, 4 awesome wings, and then 2 or 3 really, really good interior players. I could name them all, but I'd rather you just go watch them if you're living under that rock. So you need to go see them. But you know who I'm talking about: DeAndre Thomas, Shannon Twins, Trent Payne, Nehemiah Lawrence, Namdi. Like I could just go on and on. This team is awesome, and they have it all.
Why'd you do that? Why'd you do that? Because you probably people are watching the 500 people that are watching us right now are probably like, oh, see, Mass doesn't know anybody, and he's like, yeah, right.
Yeah. But anyways, go watch this team. Their only loss this season in the state of Texas, Brennan, and you think they want that one. So tell us, make the case real quick, Lyndon, for North Crowley.
Yeah, and people who have watched the GASOcast through the years will recognize this because I say it every single year when we talk about the 6A Region 1 playoffs, and that you might as well pencil North Crowley into about the third round by the time the start of this thing, because that's just what Tommy Brackle does, and his teams do, is they just wear you out. And his, they've got big time front court presence with Trey Hall. They've got depth. They've got guys who can get in a bucket, and in Isaac Hayes, they have showtime. I mean, this guy, when it's time to win the game in the final minute, I don't know if there's another sophomore in the state that I would feel more comfortable with the ball in his hands. Just because he's able to score, he's got crazy range, and he's gotten so much better as a decision maker. He's grown in comfort with his teammates and throughout the year. And I just think that this is going to be a team that's going to have a really fun matchup, potential third round matchup against Allen, to see who can come out on top in this region.
Man, it's crazy. Wild region. Let's move on to 6A Region 2. A player in this region to lead, make a run. I'm going to go with Ian Inman, the Woodlands College Park. They're fresh on my mind, and this guy can just fill up the stat sheet. A team that has been solid all season, and then just has the chops in D2 to go make it happen. They have other really good players in Aiden Buckman, Tyson Forrest, Jacob Amon, but the game breaker is Ian Inman, the Colorado signee. Who is what about you, Mike?
Yeah, how about clean shoemakers, DeAnthony Moore? Lyndon, you saw him earlier this season versus Friendship. Him and Patton Pegan's put on one of still probably the best head-to-head matchups all season long when he got 42. But the thing about DeAnthony Moore is that when you play a kid like that, he's going to play harder than you. He's going to be stronger than you. And his ability to score 30 or 40 is just so hard to game plan for, because a lot of times the guys that are playing hard or getting some rebounds and making the hustle plays, but when he's able to go get buckets as well, it's demoralizing. And if he can set the tone and play at the pace that they want to play in, they're going to be he's going to be tough to handle, and that clean shoemaker is going to have a shot.
Love it. I asked for this one, the dark horse team, Waxahachie. Their story is just it's fun. It feels out of college. It feels out of March Madness. They would double dip DeSoto, beat them twice in 24 hours to get into the playoffs, and now it's like we're playing with house money. They've already been in the playoffs for 2 rounds, is what I'm saying, and they have real pieces: Michael Gatewood, Trey Nunn, Jonathan Bradley, Christian Brown, and they're rolling. They're on a high. We see this every year in March Madness, where a team just gets hot at the right time, and you get in their way, and they're a buzzsaw. And, is Waxahachie that team? I don't know, but it is safe to say they need to be in consideration because they've already played 2 more games than everyone in the state, 2 more playoff games than everyone in the state. So you got to pay attention here. Intriguing first-round matchup, Rockwall Heath versus Wiley. This is a Division I matchup. Michael, why don't you expand a little bit more on this one?
Yeah, I like this one a lot just because you're looking at the Rockwall Heath side. You have Caleb Turner-Dykes. If you haven't seen him play out at Rockwall Heath, 6'7" senior, just super versatile of a prospect. And then with Paxton Ivy, you have a sophomore, one of those young gunners that can shoot it, but can score from all 3 levels. And he's more than just a shooter. He has real good length. But it's funny because they're very similar on the Wiley side. You have Isaiah Shern that is that scorer role, but then the Noah Mallory that can do a lot of stuff as well. These are 2 teams, and I think it doesn't say right here, but I think a team like Wiley's, 22-11 once again, but they're 14-2 in districts. So they took some losses early on, but when you're 14-2 district, they're probably happy that they played that schedule. And same for Rockwall Heath. I know Paxton Ivy and Turner Dykes have been out, but they get them back. They've had some good success this year, and that's just a very intriguing game where I think these two teams are very similar. And it's just going to maybe come down to just executing those possessions down the stretch.
Let's move on to region winners. Make your case for Lancaster. Not a tough case to be made, Lyndon.
No, not at all. They're just looking up and down at the D2 bracket. They're just deeper. They're bigger. They've got more. They have more truly talented players than anybody else in the region. Their guards are great at what they do with Desmion Jones and Jalen Brown, Colin Douglas. You know, they've got depth in that position. And then you look at their front court, and they're just as deep with Amari Reed and Devin Pearson. I mean, these guys are they're great at what they do. I think that they would be just as big of a favorite if they were playing in Division I, to be honest. I think they would be right up there with Duncanville that you're about to talk about. But I just think that this is a team, this is a no-brainer as to why they're the favorites in Region 2, Division 2.
Mike, you want to hit on Duncanville a little bit?
Yeah, very just unique because the Duncanville, we're so used to just penciling them in. And then last year, they take a loss very quickly to Wiley East. And I think this is just they're recreating that culture. And I think they got guys in this roster makeup that are playing well on. So I'll start really quick with a couple of the guys that are filling in just their role players with Chris Gooden Jr., Xavier Lawson, Jaron Mitchell. But then let's get to it. Caden Bug Edwards, if there's one senior in the whole state of Texas that's on a mission right now, it's that kid right there. He's seen everything there is to see at Duncanville, played with dudes all over the NBA guys. It's his time now to lead. I think he's going to set the tone early. Deuce Hunt Jr. is coming into his own right now as that second scorer that's capable of giving you that 20, 25 points as well. And that opens up so much for maybe the best true point guard, regardless of class in the state, and Beckham Black, to be able to facilitate and work with a plethora of riches. I think this Duncanville team, Cam Smith inside, just committed to Pepperdine, I believe.
Cal State Fullerton.
Cal State Fullerton.
Same colors, California.
Yeah.
He's one of those other guys that has to play interior for them, that continues to figure out how to just not have to be a big, but provides that size inside to where if they need to play big, he's continued to learn how to do that. The makeup for this team it just looks like one of those Duncanville teams to where the further they go in the playoffs, there's a lot of those role players I just mentioned that will continue to create big names for themselves, momentum that we may not be talking about right this second, but they got guys there. And I think this could be a chance for them to make another deep run.
6A Region 3, Michael, I'm kicking it right back to you. Who is a player in this region who can lead and make a run? One of our favorites.
Yeah, the Celsius guy of all Celsius guys, Kabari Lewis of Side Creek. When you're talking about a guy that if he sees one go in, it's going to be a long night for the defender. You can throw two guys at him. Some players just know how to get it done against double and triple teams. And Kabari Lewis is just one of those game breaker guys that, hey, you better hope he's off or he's going to make your night miserable as a defender.
Love it. Who's a dark horse team, Lyndon?
Yeah, let's go with Katy Seven Lakes. They've got a ton of momentum coming into this. Beat Katy Jordan in the second half of district. And they're another team that they just end up in the third and fourth round year in, year out. You know, they had that big win over Fort Bend Clements, who was undefeated at the time last year. A lot of the same pieces back on this team: Isaiah Santos, Tillman Jaramillo. I mean, this is the combination you want to have as a coach. You've got the experience and you also have young talent. So, I mean, that's what wins games in the postseasons. And if they can get hot and continue their momentum, then they're definitely a dark horse to keep an eye on in the big school Region 3 bracket.
Love it. I'm going to D2 here for an intriguing first-round matchup. Pasadena South Houston versus Fort Bend Bush. Watched both these teams this season. Recently watched Bush. I love the individual player matchups here. Jordan Buckner, Xavier Muhammad versus Evan Batia, Borsi Mato, and Brody Thornton. It's just going to be a really fun game of two teams that have a very successful season. And, of course, Pasadena South Houston had C.E. King in the first round last year, get Fort Bend Bush this year. It's like, my gosh, give them give them a little bit easier first round matchup because this team deserves some shine because they're really, really good. I think this will be a back and forth game. I'm still undecided of who I think is going to win. Lyndon, who's a game for you?
Yeah, whoever's in charge of ticketing for Houston Bel Air and Cy Fair need to up the prices. I think to get access to that Shelton Henderson versus Kendarius Johnson uh, matchup because Shelton. He speaks for himself. His reputation precedes him. He's one of the most dynamic, capable producers of a big night in the state with physicality, with shot making, with everything. He's got a full bag going to Duke, and then Kendarius Johnson. We've seen him be so good in so many different events, whether that's a high school tournament or a fall tour or going back to the summer. Last time I saw him in person, I think he had 40 and set out the entire fourth quarter. That's just what he does. He's a shot maker with all types of physicality, and he's super crafty. I really like what this matchup brings to the table.
Love it. Let's make the case. I'm going to make the case for Alvin Shadow Creek. This one just makes too much sense. They got a killer in Mike Collins at point guard position. They have do-it-all Bryce Jackson, Aiden Law, stretching defenses, really good athlete, Julian Collier slashing wing, and they have just been on a mission all season. Their two losses are, I think, Lake Ridge and Austin St. Michael's, and those two teams aren't anywhere near this bracket. So I just think, it's their time. Who is your region winner, Lyndon?
Yeah, in Division One, we got to talk about Atascocita, and they've won consistently all year despite the circumstances. Jalen Finner has been out with an injury, but he's been back for district. They go undefeated in district. Adam Boyd stepped up huge. Jason Salano stepped up huge. They get Jakai Kentavi back. I mean, this is a team that has all the pieces. They've checked all the boxes, and I really think that Region 3 runs through them in the big school bracket.
Good call. Let's wrap it up here. 6A Region 4, we are still humming. Michael, I'm going to kick this one to you. Who's a player in the region that you like that can make a run?
Yeah, Josiah Jones and Knowledge Carter of Harlan. I think they're two guys that they're going to D2, the D2 side, and you get them away from Brennan, they're just a different type of team. I'm not gonna lie. Like Brennan's their kryptonite in that district, and for Brennan's everybody's kryptonite right now. But you get these two guards feeling good, had some big performances lately. Just a reset. And I think Harlan has so much talent, and a lot of teams across the state. A lot of teams were just hoping to get into the playoffs. Harlan got in pretty easily, but a lot of teams that just want to get into the playoffs, get to that third season. It's a fresh reset. When you have talent, reset, see some teams you haven't seen before, you feel really good going into it. Josiah Jones gets a Kansas State offer. He's going to be feeling really good going into these playoffs. And these are two guys that can just go get it, and there's nothing you can do about it.
I love that. Dark horse teams. Lyndon, who's that for you?
Let's go with Cibolo Steel. And we've all seen them be great against the best competition the state has to offer. They were beating Brennan for a half in our GASO fall tour in one of the big field games that was there that day. They gave Allen all they wanted at Allen's tournament up here in the DFW over Christmas break. I mean, this is a team that's capable of competing with whoever. Logan Gonzalez, one of the best shooters in the state. Joshua Rice has made a big name for himself in Texas this season. I think this is a team that you just have to keep tabs on because they're capable as anybody of making a run and potentially upsetting Brennan on their way to the regional final.
I love it. I'm going to go Schertz Clemens. I love their intensity and the toughness that they play with. I watched them last week, and this is like the fifth time I've mentioned Latrell Hoover, but man, having a 6'10" on the interior who's just making waves, who can protect the basket, who can score easy buckets when it's tough to score, and a team that's really good on defense, makes for a recipe of a dark horse. And we've mentioned that a lot, but they come from a battle-tested district. Why not? What's an intriguing first-round matchup that you're looking forward to watching, Michael?
Yeah, I feel like San Antonio, especially at the 6A level, has so many, we call them thorns. These two teams in other seasons would be like thorns in really high-ranked teams in that first round. And they got to go head-to-head, and that's San Antonio Johnson and San Antonio O'Connor. When you're looking at it, Johnson's won 12 of their last 13, and San Antonio O'Connor's last two losses in the last 2 months have been to Brennan. So they're both on form, and they're just two teams that have just depth of guys that know how to play basketball. Regardless if you D1, D2, they're just good basketball players. And when you take that depth into the playoffs, whoever wins this matchup going on into the playoffs, next round is going to be very, very tricky just because they just know how to play.
Love it. That's a very intriguing game. Tim was talking about it too. That when y'all
Yeah.
two start talking about something, we know it's happening in San Antonio. And then throw it in blue. Let's talk region winners. Let's make the case for. And you're going to wrap up the show with Brennan, and I'm going to go with Round Rock Stony Point in D2. Their guard plays high level. Isaiah Bunton, Elijah Clemens, Landon Short, Jaden Cruz. This group has been there. There's going to be no stage that's too big for them. And then every game that they play, they bring the energy to you. Like they want to go punch you in the mouth and make sure that you understand that they are here to play. And if you don't match that intensity, it's a wrap. And they're going to send you packing. I love this team. I love what they bring. I love their experience. No, they don't have Josiah Mosley, but they've had a season of getting better and playing as like this guard unit, and they're phenomenal. And they're one of the best teams in the state for a region. Why don't you wrap us up here with San Antonio Brennan, and we will have taken this down, this mega cast. So wrap us up with Brennan here.
Yeah, I feel like what I'm going to say about Brennan doesn't do justice to, but I'll do my best. It's been the Kingston Fleming show, the Kingston Fleming narrative. And what I love about this is that everything we say about Kingston Fleming is this program has all embodied what Kingston Flemings is feeling. When people talk about this Brennan team, it's like, oh, Kingston Flemings needs to go win it. He wants to win it. He's on a mission. They're all so locked in right now. I was talking to them. They beat a team and they held a team under 30. And they're like, yeah, our goal is to not let a team score 30. And when you talk about the plethora of riches they have offensively with Cowgill, Donovan Chris, Ward, the fact that they care about defense so much tells you how locked in they are. They're a real community down there, a real family down there. And I don't think they feel the pressure that the city of San Antonio, the region of South Texas, the state's putting on them to make a run. I think they're just locked in on what they need to do game in and game out, and they're going to go make a statement. And it's just one of those things. It's time now. And I think they're not worried about media people putting the time on them. They're just going to go out and handle their business. And I mean, they have to be my favorite to win the state championship.
Well said. We'll be wrapping up a lot of this. Lyndon will provide more playoff coverage. Blue's going to be talking about SBC. We're going to provide our picks for every Division I, Division II, 5A, and 6A. Lyndon's going to give his picks all the way run down. Content will be coming out. We're going to be watching games all this week. So make sure you're following us, notifications turned on, and you are subscribed. Again, thank you for being a part of this family. 667. We appreciate you. And we will see you next time.